Hi everyone, welcome to Prime Time. I'm one of your hosts, Barbara Marville Kelly, and with me is my co-host, husband, best friend, coach, you name it, Dennis Kelly. Hi there.
Hi.
We're back again.
Back again.
We're actually back in a new time slot, 5 o'clock p.m. on Mondays, and I want to thank you for sliding over with us from Wednesdays. We're going to be here every Wednesday sharing a lot of tips on health, anti-aging, longevity. I think our philosophy is to give you that lifeline to live a better quality of life. What we wanted to do in our first segment is share some of the background on why we're doing this show. I guess it really goes back to why we went on a quest for living a better quality of life. When my husband and I first met a number of years ago, what was it, 1996, when you used me as a guinea pig?
That's right. You remember that far.
Yeah. Did you hear that? Oh, this is going to be a great show, I can tell right now.
She's been picking on me all day, so I'm getting back at her on live TV.
Yeah, there you go.
How about that?
So 1996, you were writing your book, and it's called The 6 Steps to the Fountain of Youth, and we'll share a little bit more about that throughout the hour. But when we met, we were both kind of like trying to get healthier. I was working at Home Shopping Network in the early morning hours, and I really wanted to get my health back so I could have more energy and really do a better service in my profession. Now you, on the other hand, had some other ideas as to why you wanted to, get on this quest and really seek out, research the researchers and all. What was it that really possessed you to write your book and really get into this whole health arena?
Well, it's a long story, but I will give you the short version of it.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'd be here a couple hours.
Okay.
One of the things that really inspired me to take care of myself was, first of all, I come from a family of very poor genes. My mother was in more hospitals and nursing homes probably than most doctors. And of course, at 35 years of age, I was in very poor health because I was so busy making money, I didn't take care of myself. When I went to the doctors to get an exam, he looked at me quite firmly and said to me, he said, if you don't do something, you're going to be a good candidate for a heart attack or a stroke. Back when I was 35, I thought I was healthy, even though I was about 50 pounds overweight. But the interesting thing, about 2 weeks after that, my father, at 53, died of a massive coronary. So that was like a big red flag. So I decided to do something about it and join a martial arts school because I was always interested in self-defense, because when I was a young man, a couple of Marines kicked my butt one time.
You never told me that.
Well, it was over a girl, so
Oh,
and
okay.
So that embarrassment was quite a bit, because the next day I had to go teach some dance lessons as a dance teacher, and I had swollen lip and black eye and all that stuff.
So that's why you got into the martial.
Well, that was part of the reason.
It all comes out now.
The other reason was I wanted to lose weight, and I didn't want to be a good prospect for a heart attack or a stroke. So when I got involved in the martial arts, it was like a whole change of life, a whole different lifestyle, and I loved it because it really brought out something in me that there was a paradigm I had since I was a young man. Because in high school, I was one of the worst athletes in history of Grafton High School. My coach hated to put me in to play, no matter what position it was. And I one time caught him in the locker room when he was talking to some of the other kids that were on my team. He was telling them how he hated to play me because I was one of the worst athletes he ever seen. But we were from a small school in Grafton, Wisconsin. There was only 98 kids out in the whole school. And so we played six-man football, and they had to play me because there's only 9 out for football.
Oh my!
So anyway, that paradigm was there, and I found out it was easy to make money, but it was hard for me to get rid of those old memories and so on. When my stepfather would call me a bum, and my coach said I was a lousy athlete, so that really inspired me. And then of course I felt so good losing all that weight. I lost over 50 pounds in a matter of 4 months, 3 to 4 months. Ooh. And then I got involved in competition, and then people would come to me and say, "What are you doing? What? Give me your secret for why you look so much better, and why I was able to do so much better in sports. Being a world champion eventually." So that was what really led me on that path, and I've been on it ever since. Because it's like I never want to stop, because the more I learn, the more it helps me, the more I can convince other people to follow this program, because it's not that difficult. Mm-hmm. Just learning how to do a few push-offs from the It's from the table. Anyway, learning to do a few push-offs from the table and being able to form a plan that doesn't require a whole lot of taking and having to change a lifestyle dramatically.
You know, there's so many fads, fad diets, fad programs, gadgets and gadgets, and you name it, it's out there. And I think over the years, since I've been with my husband since 1996, when you were writing your book and using me as really an example, when I came to the gym and he put me on his program and everything, I thought, well, there's no gimmick here. It's basically getting back to the basics, basics of good, solid health, exercise, and nutrition. And you know what? There's nothing like that because it's not complicated. And if you're the kind of person like we are and we don't want anything complicated, especially at this stage of our lives, we want more relaxation, we want more peace and harmony in our life. And if we are doing some kind of really complicated exercise, equipment, some kind of fad, I mean, even with the, what do they call them, the boot camps, the boot camp. Now, I've done those too at 5 o'clock in the morning, and remember when
a few of those.
Yeah, those, and oh, it's great. I mean, we're not saying don't do those, but if you want to get back to basics, you know, and keeping track of what goes in and how, you know, how you exercise, it all balances out, and it comes right back to when you were writing the book. Okay, so when I met you at the gym and you asked me if I wanted to go on the program while you were writing the 6 Steps to the Fountain of Youth, and I said, sure, if you know, you think I can do that. And I did. And to this day, it still works, and it works for everybody. And what I loved about the concept was the simplicity of mind, body, spirit. And I always love to share that, and I love to say that, using the mind as the map, the body as the vehicle, and the spirit as the fuel. So can we expand on that whole, are you flirting with me?
Am I what?
You looked like he was flirting with me. He just had that funny look on his face. Anyway,
how can I help it when she looks so good?
Let's go ahead. He's just giving me that look. Okay.
Well, when you talk about when we met, it sort of brought back some good memories.
That's true.
Yeah, feel good type
I
things.
know, it really was.
Yeah.
When I came into the gym and you puffed your chest up. And
well, I don't know about that.
Oh, yes, you did. But that's a whole other story. We'll share on our relationship hour that we do and talk about that. But let's talk about the whole mind, body, spirit thing. And if you can just encapsulate that on the mind and using the mind as that umbrella. Why do we say that? The mind as the map.
Well, you got to understand, first of all, what is the mind? Mm-hmm. You know, first of all, the mind controls every organ in the body, including the brain. And the brain, through a series of neuropeptides, which are molecular messengers, sends messages to soldier cells that are in the lymph system and flow around in the bloodstream to either fight or not fight in a war against disease and germs. That's why all disease has a strong psychosomatic component. It's how you think has a lot to do with how you feel. So when you understand where is the mind, people think of the mind as in the brain. But it's really not just in the brain. The mind is a combination of what we call a trilogy. Trilogy mean the heart, the Dantian area, the gut, so to speak, because there's a brain in the gut now. They discovered there's around 100 million neurons in the intestinal tract. And then there is, now they just recently, within the last 25 years, discovered that there's a brain within the heart. That it's 60 times more bioelectricity in the heart than is in the brain. So it's that combination. So once you understand how to communicate from the brain to the heart to the gut, it makes everything so much simpler. And this is what we do. We're able to share with you knowledge that will enable you to create the most magnificent version of you through being able to communicate those 3 things.
Now, do you think that the average person is not aware of that, but perhaps the generations now are seeking those answers and they are looking into doing some research on trying to understand that whole mind and concept with the heart, because of the heart having the science of the electricity in it and the connection there?
Well, we could do a whole session just on the heart alone, being that I'm a heart math certified coach. It's amazing, the information. In fact, the more I know, the more books I read and seminars that I go to, the easier it is to understand these things, not the harder. It doesn't really complicate things, it makes it simpler, being able to learn how to communicate those aspects. For example, when you talk about this tremendous potential we have in all of us, I think everybody would agree that our potential, our human potential, is unlimited. Just when you think something's impossible, somebody comes along and proves it's not, just like Roger Bannister when he ran the 4-minute mile. They said it would, his heart, the doctor said his heart would explode. Nobody ever ran the 4-minute mile. Well, once he ran the 4-minute mile, then within a couple of years, 8 or 9 other runners ran under the 4-minute mile. In other words, he ran under the 4-minute mile, not the 4-minute mile.
So he proved the whole thing wrong.
Yeah, they proved it wrong. So we have this tremendous amount of power. If you talk to the average theologian and say, what is this power? They say it's in the trees, it's in the rain, it's in the sun, it's in the sky, and this magnificent power, and they would label it a 3-letter word called God. If you talk to the average quantum physicist, he would say the same thing, that energy is out there in the heavens and in the sky, in everything that we do. There's this tremendous amount of energy. And Professor Einstein, when he was in his prime, he discovered that in this vacuum of space, there's this phenomenal energy called zero-point energy. And if you could take a couple of this energy, and if you could tap into that, somehow they haven't figured out how to do that yet. With 1 cup of space, so to speak, you could boil the oceans of the earth, just with that 1 cup of space, so that energy in a cup. And if you took the energy in a human being, just for example, the electrical energy in our hydrogen atoms is like 11 million kilowatt per pounds per hour, the scientists discovered. So if you could take that energy and take that hydrogen atom energy from the human being, a 150-pound person could light up the North American continent for a full week.
Well, that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, that's powerful stuff.
That is really powerful stuff. So taking the mind as the map and understanding that and understanding the science behind it, is that what you mean by like mapping it out and then we go into the whole realm of the body being the vehicle?
Right, and the difference between the philosophies of the West and the East, they look at our body as not a physical body, but as an energy body. Because basically when you go to quantum physics, we're 99% energy and information. Only 1/10 of 1% we're really flesh, so to speak, of it. So when we look in the mirror, it's not really us. So the key is to learn how to harvest this energy. The Chinese call it qi, the Japanese call it ki, the Indians call it prana, the Russians call it bioplasmatic energy, we call it zero-point energy, but it's that phenomenal energy. And once you understand and once you realize that we are energy, then you can do things to precipitate improving that energy.
That's amazing. He's like a walking encyclopedia. You can see behind us, speaking of energy, we're actually in our Master Hands-On class teaching our instructors, taking them to the next level. And you can see how they're actually using that whole energetic theory with Tai Chi and Qi Kong. And it's pretty darn exciting because you can just feel that energy. You can feel it, and once you really understand how you can channel that through your body, I mean, it does affect the mind. It doesn't.
Absolutely. And what most people don't understand, to be able to, in the West, improve the mind, you have to really, the first step is to learn how to improve the body. Because once you learn to control the body, it's a lot easier to control the mind. Where over in the Asian country, they work on the mind first and the body second. Even though they're working together in tandem, they still spend a lot of time on the mind. But over in the West, we find it a lot easier to work on the body. That's why Qi Kong and Tai Chi and things that create a lot of slow movement that allow you to meditate in motion are the strongest way to get into the mind. And then, of course, once you get into the mind, then it's easier to get into the emotion and the spirit. For example, the attention is the weapon of the super warrior, so to speak. And attention develops concentration. Concentration develops spiritual power, and spiritual power is the mightiest force in existence. That's why, I don't care what age you are, you can really learn, once you learn how to tap into that energy, and this is what we do, then everything is possible. It opens the door to a world of infinite possibilities.
You know, you really touched on that, because it makes me think about years ago when I just saw us having a show like this and putting that energy out there and never thinking that it would never happen. We get a phone call. Barbara, it's John Gaston over Tampa Bay Multimedia. I want to talk to you about doing some TV shows. And that it just really shows that when you do have that positive energy and you never give up, which we never ever give up, and those of you that know us out there know that that is our philosophy, never ever give up. And no matter what kind of challenges you have the power to change that right now. And that's where we're handing you the lifeline to have a better life of quality and really understand how this whole mind, body, spirit works. I know it sounds redundant. You see it everywhere, and there's a reason why. Because when there's people working that are energy workers like we are, and we get it, we can't wait to share it with others because we know it works. Another little phrase that we often say is, what you think about, you bring about. Oh boy,
isn't that the truth?
The truth. You know, getting back to the mind and the body, and you were saying that in Asia they start with the mind. Well, I know from experience that if we start from the body first, especially, what is the first thing we do when maybe things are going a little awry, things aren't working out, and you're wondering, okay, this is really frustrating me, I need to relax, I need to calm down about this, what do? Do you sit and pine over it? Do you sit and worry about it, which is a very negative emotion? Or do you work on the solution? The first thing that we do is get physical. Get to the gym, get on the bike, get on the treadmill, start lifting weights, and get your body moving. What does that do for us as far as getting all the endorphins and all the good chemicals all stirred up?
One of my favorite songs was Olivia Newton-John, Get Physical.
Yeah.
And what that does, it takes away from, first of all, stress.
Right.
And that's, of course, I could do a whole 2-3 hours just on stress alone. But once you learn that movement is one of the key things, the Tibetan monks that really practiced the martial arts had what they call the 5 power principles. Mm-hmm. And these 5 power principles they lived by religiously. And the first thing of the power principles was movement. They believed in movement, any type of movement, even if it was sweeping up the monastery's floor, you know. So they believed in a lot of movement. And then, of course, the second was breathing. Mm-hmm. They believed in so much in controlled breathing, in movement with breathing. They call it movement, in other words, action meditation, so to speak. And then the third was relaxation. But you couldn't do the fourth one unless you did the third, because the fourth one was concentration. Unless you can relax, you can't concentrate. So they really believed that an important factor of being successful physically, mentally, and emotionally, being able to focus, being able to keep your attention on a primary thing for a sustained period of time, every day, focusing on that, whatever that goal might be, whatever that thing is that you want to accomplish. And that's why the relaxation and concentration, they go together like a brother and sister, so to speak, is the fact that when you focus on something, now this is where we get into quantum physics a little bit. When you focus on something, keep focusing on it long enough, then that thing that you want starts vibrating at that vibration level that you're focusing, because everything is vibration. This table right here, there's millions and millions of atoms that are vibrating constantly. Mm-hmm. So it's getting into that vibratory level. But most people don't focus long enough. They're so busy majoring in minor things, they take their eye off the ball. They take their eye off of the goal, the dream. That's why most people at 35 years of age are dead. They just don't bury them to 46 years later.
Boy, isn't that the truth?
Their dreams are gone. They say, well, I can't do it. I can't accomplish it.
And they give up.
They give up. Mm-hmm. And it's like the only way you drown when you fall in the water is if you stop swimming.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And that's the same thing with people in life. And it's so sad. There's so many people with so much talent that are just letting it go to waste because they say, well, I'm too old for this. And this is one of my goals. One of my main objectives is to get people to realize that you're never too old to live your dreams. That what you need is just these principles. Then, of course, the last power principle of the Tibetan monks that we in my circle live by is the last one is attitude. Mm-hmm. They have this attitude of gratitude, of every day they wake up, they feel it's so wonderful to have another day of life. And they're always looking to improve. It's like the last four letters of enthusiasm, I am sold myself, being sold on the idea of self-improvement. Or the acronym IASM, the acronym, and again repeating it, I am sold myself, has so much power in it that you'd be surprised that just focusing on just improving yourself a little bits and pieces at a time makes such a major difference.
And so getting physical helps you really learn that focus, because you're obviously getting the good endorphins, you're getting oxygen to the cells, regardless of what type of exercise you're doing. And I will be the first one to admit, I do not like to exercise because I don't like being hot and perspiry. Okay, I'm just getting it out there. But I know that I've got to do some form of exercise if I'm going to be setting an example for my family and generations to come. Because after all, when you do get physical, I mean, even if you go out and dance, or get down on the floor with your grandchildren and play with them, any form of exercise is better than no form of exercise. Am I right about that?
That's right. Well, take a person at 35 years of age. If they do not do any exercise, just go about life without exercise, then they lose 2% of their physical capabilities every year. So by the time they turn 60, they lost 50% of their physical capabilities. And here's the sad part about it. And usually the mental capabilities follow the physical. They lost 50% in the mental besides just the physical. And then research has proven if you take an exercise 3 times a week, that's not a lot, 3 times a week, and do the proper exercise, say 30 minutes to an hour every day, you only lose 0.5%.
Really?
So by the time you turn 65, you've only lost 12.5% of your physical capabilities and 10.5% of your mental capabilities. But here's the good news. If you really, really get the right proper exercise program and really spend 4 or 5 times a week doing that exercise program and follow with a little bit of food control, and I say food management is a better word, right? Then when you turn 65, you can be in better shape, stronger, more physically fit than the average 25-year-old, because the average 25-year-old in this day and age is in poor shape. Now, if you take a 25-year-old Olympic athlete, no, that wouldn't hold true. But basically, if you do what I mentioned just now, get 4 or 5 times a week and get a good exercise program where you have the soft and the hard, where you have the soft like meditation and motion, if your hard stuff is a form of aerobics, get the heart rate up, then when you turn my age, well, I shouldn't say my age because I'm 76, but turn 60, 65. But even at my age at 76, I can guarantee you, if you follow that program at 76, you'll be in better shape, stronger, and like I say, mentally, physically, and emotionally than the average 25-year-old.
There's a lot of food for thought when it comes to that too, because as you mentioned that, you know how I get up and down, on and off the bandwagon with exercise and everything, and we are exercising more regularly. My husband truly is the perfect walking example of doing exactly. He really does stick to a routine, going to the gym. If he isn't at the gym, he's doing something at home, and always really sticking to it. How many days a week are you exercising now?
5 to 6. Depends
Plus,
upon 5 or 6.
Plus the 40 classes that you teach still,
Right.
because you love it and love your students and everything. I, on the other hand, am a little bit more lax, but when I got back into working out, I noticed that the percentages that you said, because I have from time to time worked out, I didn't feel as much of a loss as maybe I would have had I been more sedentary.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, another thing, people wanting to lose weight. There's so much, billions of dollars in dieting and diets. The first 3-letter words of dieting is die, D-I-E. So what is the answer there? Well, the answer is just simply using more calories than you take in.
Exactly.
Doing the push-offs from the table. And 75% of what you eat being water-soluble, fruits and vegetables. And the other 25% could be meat, could be sweets, or whatever. The thing is, you don't have to live your life like a Spartan warrior. You live your life with moderacy.
Well, and we talk about balance. In fact, my son John we were just talking about that. It's so good to see that the kids finally come around and they finally get it. And he was saying, it's all about balance. It's all about balance. I don't want to be on a diet or being really strict, so strict that it adds more stress to my life. So if I can keep it all in balance and I'm feeling good about it and I'm not getting all stressed out because I can't have this piece of bread or that cookie or whatever, or my first cup of coffee in the morning, I'm okay with that. Getting back to the whole exercise thing, I took some video. I don't know if we have it to put it up or not, but my husband, still at 76, can do those crazy machine gun kicks that I put on Facebook. And you've been doing those ever since, what? When you were competing in the martial arts.
Been doing it for about 40 years.
Yeah, the machine gun kicks and then knuckle push-ups to the point where I was bored taking the film. Here's the machine gun kicks right here. This cracks you up. Everybody in the gym stopped watching him doing these machine gun kicks. It was, check this out. Now, this is at a different gym than he's done before. They don't have an aerobics room. You can tell I'm not a photographer, but anyway, or videographer, right, John?
You really chopped my head off there, didn't you?
But at the other gym, it's a full, long, big, huge aerobics room. He'll go down one way and back without faltering at all. Here's those knuckle push-ups. I'm telling you, he wouldn't stop. I had to stop the film. He just kept going and going and going. Knuckle push-ups at age 76. Why? Because you've been doing this consistently for all these years. And you know, the other thing is, if you happen to be a baby boomer like I am, the thing is that we know what it's like when our parents start to fail in their health. We've become caregivers for them. And I have talked to more baby boomers that are really looking for that holy grail of anti-aging. Have we found the holy grail to anti-aging? Well, I don't know that I can really say that, but we sure have found and discovered a lot of things in our life experience together because we felt very bad losing our parents at too young of an age, really and truly. In fact, my husband actually put himself out on the line and in the ring to prove what you can do if you set your mind to it, you set your goals, you set your focus and concentration. This was the last competition that you won, wasn't it?
No, it was the last one I won. It was when I won the World Championship in Atlanta, Georgia in 2007 at 69 years of age. I was the oldest man in the history of martial arts to win a World Championship at the Battle of Atlanta.
And so that's what this one was? This one was that?
Yeah, this was it.
Okay.
This is when I won the final bout, was right there.
And so he's competing with guys, his opponents are 20 years younger?
Sometimes more than that.
Sometimes 30 years younger, because they didn't have an age division when you were fighting, right?
That's right.
And it was point karate in men's fighting, and he just kept wanting to get out there and show, look, we've got to show people. We've got to show people that if you really follow a simple program, not that we're saying that you need to go out there and compete in, full contact point karate in the martial arts, but just imagine having more stamina, waking up in the morning feeling bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, being able to take on each new day, being able to sit down on the floor with your grandchildren, or maybe that doggy or a little puppy or kitty that you want to play with, and you can feel like you can do that with ease and being effortless and not feeling like you can't. And it's just a whole new lifestyle for many of us. And you know what? It takes discipline too. It really takes discipline. And you talk about the push-offs from the table and watching your portion control, correct?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So it's all about all these little tidbits that we can, add years to our life and life to our years, basically.
Well, they did work with little mice and rats, and when they fed them 20% less food, they lived 40% longer. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, that doesn't relate to the same age difference in humans, but if you eat less, there's a chance you'll live a lot longer and a lot healthier. Mm-hmm. It's, of course, has a lot to do with what you eat. But here's another thing I failed to mention about the dieting, that when you build a pound of muscle and get rid of a pound of fat, you burn 50 more calories per day. So if you lose, say, 10 pounds of fat, you're burning 500 more calories per day. and gain 10 pounds of muscle, you're gaining 500 calories per day more than you were before. So at the end of the week, that's 3,500 calories. That's around what a pound is.
And a pound is a lot. That's
Yeah,
a lot.
it's a
Well,
lot.
if you take a look at like a pound of butter, that's about how I, kind of think about that as a pound of butter. Boy, when I lose 1 pound, then I lose another, and I can feel it. And it shows in my clothes, and I am building the muscle. Well, it looks like we're going to take a brief little time out, so stay with us, and we're going to continue on and talk a little bit more, because coming back, we're going to talk about the spirit, because the spirit is the fuel that helps drive the body, which is the vehicle, and then getting back to the mind as the map. It's all interconnected, and if you have all three, oh my goodness, the fireworks really begin, don't they?
Boy, don't they ever.
So stay with us. We'll be right back in just a little bit.
The last several years have been confusing and trying for homeowners. Advisors Mortgage and Financial Group was there before the housing crisis, during, and we are still here now advising people of their options and helping them choose the best financial solutions for their family. You do have options, and today's market promises lots of opportunities. We have found that there are a lot of questions out there and misinformation, and we want you to know we have answers. Advisors Mortgage and Financial Group, providing solutions today for a better tomorrow.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
Hi, I'm Derek Brooks, former linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. During my NFL career, I realized the importance of giving back and started my foundation, Derek Brooks Charities. We help Tampa Bay youth prepare for a successful life through our college prep and mentoring programs. Our goal is to see youth excel academically and develop strong characters and be better citizens for tomorrow. To further our mission, we've teamed up with Fun Night, a company that gives members access to thousands of nationwide discounts on products and services they buy every day. These include entertainment, retail purchases, dining, and travel. Best of all, 33% of every membership fee goes to the charity of your choice. We love being able to save our supporters money while giving them a unique opportunity to support our charitable work in the community. I invite you to consider using Fun Night to save money and give back to your favorite cause. Visit www.funnight.us to sign up now and get a free 30-day trial. Save money, help others with Fun Night, and support Derek Brooks Charities.
Mortgages don't need to be complicated. At Norcom, we're here to guide you through the process. By following our tried and true path to success, we make homes happen. To get started, give us a call or apply online. A trusted mortgage consultant will reach out to you to find out what your goals are. Whether you're in the market to purchase a new home or refinance your current home, we are dedicated to helping you achieve your goals. At Norcom, we'll provide a best-in-class customer experience. Once a plan is established, your mortgage consultant will analyze your income, assets, and credit profile in order to customize a plan for you. If you're planning on moving in the next few years, we might suggest an adjustable rate mortgage to be the best option for you. If you're a veteran, we'll get you started on a VA loan with 0% down. And if you're thinking long-term, a 30-year fixed loan might be your best fit. Our professionals are up to date on market trends and will help you make the best decision in choosing your rate. After we've found the program that's best for you, we'll then need to collect some information, including pay stubs, bank statements, and tax forms. Our underwriting team steers a loan through the approval process to verify that all the information you've provided is correct. As the underwriting process is taking place, an appraisal is ordered to determine the value of your home. A professional, local appraiser specializing in your area will determine the home's value. The last leg of this journey is closing your loan. While taking care of any last-minute details, our closing team will work on scheduling your closing date and location. It's that simple. Thank you for taking some time to walk through the mortgage path with us. Remember, we're always here to answer any questions you may have. It may seem intimidating, but here at Norcom Mortgage, we make homes happen.
And we're back here at Prime Time. I'm your host, Barbara Marvel, and with me is my wonderful co-host, Dennis Kelly. Boy, you're on a roll here today.
Well, look who I got to work with.
Yeah, that could be scary.
If I don't do it right, she'll fuss at me when I get home.
No, I won't. That's not true.
Because she's the talker. She, with her 15 years of home shopping, it's hard. She's a hard act to follow.
Oh, sure. I try not to talk so much. I get on my own nerves. Anyway.
That's true.
Thanks for joining us. We've just been talking about giving you the lifeline to longevity, anti-aging, a better healthy life, and just sharing some of the tips that we've learned over the years. And believe me, we have learned them and we are still learning. My husband researches the researchers constantly to always stay on the cutting edge of not necessarily fads, but when we bring a concept or a product or something that we want to share with you, either we've tried it after we've done the research or we don't share it at all. And it's so important to us because we really want to feel like we walk our talk. And so we'll research the researchers, we'll find out the tried and trues of everything, and then we'll bring it to you, don't we?
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah, and my husband will, he'll say, well, I don't want to tell anybody about this until we see if it works for us. And so we kind of use ourselves as examples. Now, before we took the break, we were basically talking about the mind, body, spirit, which is what really brought your book together, the 6 Steps to the Fountain of Youth. Using the mind as the map, the body as the vehicle, and the spirit as the fuel. Now, I like to think that we've saved some of the best for last because sometimes my mind makes me crazy and I can't use it as a map. My body makes me crazy too because I really don't like to exercise, but I know I have to. But when it comes to the spirit, I am all about the spirit. I know I've got the passion, and you know what? This show is all about the passion because we've been driving our passion to have our own TV show for going on 20 years. So this is another perfect example of never giving up. Something else on that whole note on spirit, passion, and everything is the whole law of attraction, the whole energy thing. It's all interconnected with the mind, body, spirit, isn't it?
That's right. Well, I call it trineurogenics. Mm-hmm. Tri meaning 3, neuro, the nervous system, and genics, the composite of each. Mm-hmm. Excuse me.
And you know, that's a great concept too to think about, and it's all outlined in my husband's book, The 6 Steps to the Fountain of Youth. Let's talk about the spirit. Why did you say using the spirit as the fuel? And I want you to really expand on that because we probably can't tell it all in the last remaining portion of the show, but we can at least start touching on it.
Well, you have to put spirit sort of in a category by itself, even though it affects everything. And spirit, if you relate it to what the Tibetan monks' 5th power principle is attitude, spirit really reflects into the attitude. Because if you have a high emotional IQ, in other words, your attitude basically connected to your emotional IQ, the higher your emotional IQ, the more successful in life you're going to be. Maybe you may not become a millionaire, but you'll be a healthy individual and appreciate life and enjoy it, and chances are living a lot longer and healthier. In fact, a great book that was written by a woman called Anna Weiss called The High Performance Mind. And she said in her book, paraphrasing it, high performance mind is one that can reach that state of consciousness that is most beneficial, desirable for any given circumstance. Now, most people would just look at that and just say, well, what does that mean? Well, that is very profound. In other words, being able to use the emotions for any given circumstance. Call upon, say you need a little anger, call upon a little anger. Or you need a little compassion or empathy, calling upon those types of emotion. So the emotions really control the spirit, because if your emotions are high and positive and enthusiastic, then your spirit will be high. Then you have more power. Because in the martial arts, we call it Qing. you cannot have this. Qing is that ultimate power for fighting, for running, for anything you want. And it's a whole combination of ingredients. But really to have what we call high Qing, high Qi, positive energy Qi, we have to be in that state of love most of the time. Well, when I say state of love, I don't mean necessarily the romantic type of love, just loving life, loving things. In other words, love, there's only two emotions according to the Course in Miracles. There's fear and love. Anything you're thinking about or feeling about, it's either got to be in one of the two categories. There isn't a third category. So it's being into that frequency of love, loving your work, loving your job, loving what you do, loving yourself, loving your God, loving your family, and not getting into that area of fear or hate or whatever, envy and things like that. So staying in those positive emotions, that's where the law of attractions come in. And there's actually 4 laws. The first law, the law of attraction, is what you think you bring about. In other words, what you're thinking about, you bring about. And most people don't understand the power of that. And you really, to be able to do the second law, you have to really be able to understand the first law, and that's the law of deliberate creation. In other words, once you understand that what you think about, you bring about, then you start controlling what you think about and what you feel about. And believe it or not, through focus, concentration, all these things we talked about, it's putting the pieces of the puzzle together. Whammo, you turn into what we call a superhuman being. In other words, when I call superhuman being, I don't mean that, how would I say it, in a sense of being overconfident. I'm talking about a person that really has learned to control their emotions, basically, learned to be able to utilize that properly. So that's why I tie the spirit into being sort of an isolated thing, but yet it controls everything. It's being able to, by isolating a thing, then you get into the third part that you're able to handle, and that's the law of allowing. The law, first of all, getting back to the law of deliberate creation. So when you start thinking about and focus and cause your attention, then you cause those things to come about. Dennis Waitley, a couple of years ago, made a profound statement. He wrote many books. He was an Olympic athlete, coach, and motivated the Olympic athletes. He said that when you focus on a goal and really focus on it long enough, 18 to 20 billion brain cells are activated. They go to work at sending out forces that bring that goal to you, whether it may be on the other side of the world. And you know, I really believe that. And that's where it ties into the spirit part so much, is because when you really form that good attitude and you send those good vibrations out there, then you bring and draw those things into you. Then we got the law of allowing, which is the third law. That's the hardest one. That's allowing other people to be the way they want to be, even though you don't want to be the way they want you to be. And being able to let yourself realize they're doing the best they can with what they have to work with. That's so important. And then the fourth law is the law of deliberate creation. Because, in other words, deliberate, did I say deliberate creation? The law of deliberate
atrophy?
Atrophy. Thank you, dear, for helping me there. The law of deliberate atrophy, being able to really realize that what you don't use, you lose. If you don't use it mentally, don't work on your mind, you'll lose it to a degree, and sometimes to a big degree. If you don't work on the body, you're going to really become, like I say, being part of that 50% of loss by the time you turn 60.
And that's a lot.
That's a lot. And then when you get to that point, then it really makes a big difference on everything. And then, of course, if you don't really work on your emotions, then your attitude will start taking on its. In other words, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything type of thing. So you'll be influenced in the negative, because 77% of the population, according to the experts, are negative. They think more negative things. They're attracted to more negative things. That's because we're genetically engineered to look for the negative for survival purposes. But we outlive that. But that's still basically a way we sort of have to rewire ourselves to be able to really reach that part where we control our emotions and our spirit. And that is by allowing or being able to learn those laws, the 4 laws, and being able to live by those 4 laws. It makes a big difference.
You said quite a bit there that takes me back to thinking of the different transitions and I'm still learning. It's always a learning experience, especially about different conditions, situations, people, family, friends, all of that. And you had said something about calling on different emotions and you mentioned about calling on anger. And this is just like off the cuff asking you, where on earth and why would we choose to call on anger? Would that be to get something out of our system? What did you mean by that?
Well, basically when somebody fusses at you or when you get into a state of anger, it's a cry for help. So when two people are angry at each other, they're both crying for help. And they get angry, and when each one has their agenda and they want to feel better about it, so they get angry. So the key is realize that anger, there isn't any solution with anger. The only time you want to maybe use anger is get a little angry at yourself sometime when you get laxed. That's really a positive anger, so to speak, you know, or allowing somebody else to be angry, you know, and not allowing it to affect you. You know, that's where that law of allowing
That's part of the law of allowing.
Yeah, that's the hardest law of all of them. We're all trying to change people.
I know.
Like the woman marries her husband because he had certain attributes, and she then, once she marries him, and the same thing goes with the man with his wife, then they try to change those attributes. The very thing that attracted the thing to you.
In the beginning.
In the beginning is the very thing you're trying to change.
I know. It doesn't make any sense.
They get lost in little things like who squeezed the toothpaste in the middle and you know, who left the dirty laundry on the floor, you know?
That would never be me.
No, we won't even go there.
But you know, there's really a lot to be said for that, because once you learn how to control those emotions, and part of that is going back to getting physical. Using your body, getting physical. Because, you know, sometimes if you're in that mindset of whatever it is, you're angry, you're frustrated, you're sad, you're grieving. We've all been through those emotions and will continue to go through those emotions. And if you don't know what to do to help yourself in that given moment, getting physical, going off to the gym, go for a walk, go for a run, go for a bike ride. And then it just, I don't know, do some deep breathing, and then you notice that after a while, you kind of like calm down and you're able to center yourself.
Well, you know, it really boils down to really how you handle stress. You know, stress is, as we all know, is the #1 killer. Prematurely, that's what the 95% of the people that end up on the surgeon's table is because of stress. And one of the best versions or explanation of stress I ever heard was when I went to Heart Math Institute to get certified, is stress is when your perception of life's events do not meet up with your expectations. And you fail to manage the results.
Yes.
In fact, the London School of Medicine did a 20-year study, one of the most conclusive studies on stress, and they came to the conclusion after 20 years of studying stress that mental and emotional reaction to stress has more of a danger bearing than smoking and eating high cholesterol foods. In other words, if you are not able to handle mental and emotional reaction to stress, that you have more of a danger bearing of getting sick and not living as long than if you were smoking and eating high cholesterol foods. That's quite profound. Does that mean I recommend you smoke and eat high cholesterol foods? Absolutely not.
Right.
Because to get that a real level of optimum health and fitness, you'd have to give up those two things, you know, to really reach it. But even more important than that is ability to handle stress. And it's not so difficult realizing we've all got stress. The thing is become an expert at handling stress. Make stress your slave, not your master.
And you are a master at reducing stress. I am telling you, I haven't mastered that yet, as you have. And you keep me centered when this happens or that happens. And, you know, the biggest word that affects us all is unfairness. This is not fair. That's not fair. And it all depends on also how we perceive those things that we feel we've either been mistreated or somebody has not done something very nice to us and things like that. My husband is the first one to be in total forgiveness and looking at whatever the situation is as a learning experience for us. And I have to say that once you kind of like train the brain, get the body going and the spirit going, it just seems to become easier to go through that transition and get yourself centered and just move on.
Well, what I look forward to in the future is we can take and we'll spend one of our situations is we'll take an hour and spend just on stress, because there's so much to it that's very simple as how to handle stress, how to really not let stress handle you. You know, because the thing about stress, it can be good. There's a thing called eustress, the stress of winning. In other words, the thrill of winning, the thrill of reading a good book. And even though reading is a little bit stressful, that's good stress. That's called eustress. But the stress that's not good is the one that eats at you like acid drip in the system. Like you mentioned, unfairness. Things like that. Think, well, it's not fair, or the principles of things. Those are like acid dripping you in the system, you know, dripping with you in the system, I should say. So it's just being able to realize what am I feeling now? What type of emotion am I feeling? And then going about calling upon the right emotion to fit that circumstance.
Absolutely. You know, you were talking about eustress, and I have to tell this because, and you know, because you see it happen to me every time. Eustress is the good stress, when you're really excited and you're having a fun time. I do that with my grandson, little JD, don't I?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness, I wear myself out. I forget to drink my water. I start to get a little dehydrated. I forget to eat. And then I am wore out after I've had all these hours with him because he's such a joy. And to see my son, his daddy, with the just watching the interaction and everything, and I have all this eustress. And I said to my husband after the first few times, I go, why do I feel so cruddy after my family leaves? And it's because I didn't pace myself. I didn't put my balance into play, and it's easy to do. It really is. And the thing is, though, is I feel way worse if I let the bad stress in and let that just hover and hover and hover. You know, we have a 2-minute rule, and when we follow this 2-minute rule, here's something that my husband said a while back, many years ago, which really changed my life forever, was 5 minutes of an angry thought. A thought that you just don't feel like you can forgive somebody. If you let that go for 5 minutes, it dumps between 5, 6, and 7 hours of the bad chemicals into your system. When you think about how somebody may let more than one 5-minute segment go throughout the day, can you imagine all those hours? You have nothing but bad chemicals going into your body, and then you end up with chronic stress. Go Google that and see what can happen to the body, because that's when your body really starts breaking down, and it won't heal itself if you're constantly in this crazed stress with those chemicals. Where on the other hand, as you were saying earlier, if you can get yourself into the whole feeling of love, forgiveness, gratitude, appreciation, and all that, those are really the key words. But it looks like, I couldn't see you, John. How many minutes do we have here before we're at the top?
7 minutes.
Oh, we have 7 minutes. That's a lifetime in TV, isn't it?
Now, how about that? Sure, you got that right.
Well, we just want you to have the very best tools that you possibly can. We're going to do everything we can on our end with Prime Time. We chose that name because we're giving this our prime time, and we want to give you a chance to live the best prime time, the best quality of life at any age. You know, when you think about prime, you think, okay, well, there's primetime TV shows, there's a prime ribs, and everything that is all, you know, connected positive. So we want to bring you as much positive as we possibly can through our primetime show. And we certainly appreciate you watching, and the way to grow our audience is through you. It's all about you. In taking a few things, gleaning, even if you just glean 1 or 2 things from what we've shared with you during our show, then it makes it all worthwhile. It truly does. I wanted to share a couple of tips on hydrating yourself, and we're going to do this at the end of each shower. Shower, where did that come from? But at the end of each show, we're going to share some extra little tips for you. And I chose the one on hydration because it is so hot down here in Florida, and I, for one, forget to drink as much water as I can. But here's another way that you can combat becoming dehydrated, because that can be very dangerous for your system and for your brain. But there's 5 foods that help to hydrate you between 92 and 96%. These are all foods that I love. Cucumbers, radishes, zucchini, strawberries, and watermelon. So remember those: cucumber, radishes, zucchini, strawberries, and watermelon. So if you aren't drinking enough water, if you have some of these foods along your side, take with you in a cooler and that, then you shouldn't have any problem with it. Make sure you drink how many glasses of water every day?
8 at least.
And why are we supposed to be hydrated through the night? To prevent what?
To prevent dehydration.
And heart attack. The heart attacks.
Oh, you're looking at that part.
Yeah.
When you drink a glass of water right before you go to bed, it eliminates, I should say, it takes the percentage of having a heart attack a lot less, because of the fact that the heart attack comes when we're dehydrated. It's a lot easier for the heart muscle not to get enough oxygen. There's a lot of other reasons, but that's one of the key reasons. And also, right before you, after you eat a real big meal, get a full glass of water too, because if you, especially a real big fatty meal, because then the body wants to use up, the heart wants to use up the body. What happens is the heart muscle doesn't get enough oxygen. And when you eat a big fatty meal, the fat absorbs the oxygen that you're breathing. So after you eat a big fatty meal, take 10 deep breaths and drink a glass of water. Because there's a lot of heart attacks come on the holidays when people eat and stuff themselves with a lot of fatty foods.
And in the middle of the
And
night.
especially if they got some unknown little problems with the heart. So that's why taking a glass of water before you eat, after you eat, and then of course taking and do 10 deep breaths, because that puts in what we call nitric oxide into the system, which is nature's greatest anti-aging gas. It dilates all the vessels. Chance of having to have a heart attack or stroke when nitric oxide is in the body are a lot less. And it's a short-lived gas. That's why the water, the deep breathing, can, in a lot of cases, prevent a heart attack that you never knew you were going to have.
And you know, when you told me that and really explained that to me, and then there's been several celebrities that had some issues, and we're not saying exactly that this is what had happened, but it was very interesting that some of them had fatty meals and things of that nature. And so we always share that in our classes. My husband's really great at sharing whatever tips we possibly can when it comes to just like this, drinking enough water at night. And all of our students, our Tai Chi students, are doing that, and they say that they feel a lot better too as they stay dehydrated. We have 2 or 3 bottles of water right at our side at night.
It's so important. Another point is to drink a full glass of water or 2 the minute you wake up in the morning, because you are dehydrated, because you perspire all evening. So when you wake up, your body is striving, or I should say crying, for water. And so many diseases come from dehydration: oxygen deprivation, dehydration, and hypokinesis, which is lack of movement. That's why conductors of orchestra outlive the general population, because they drink a lot of water, they're moving, they're breathing deeply, and are listening and conducting the music. So that's why these things tie into some of the most healthy people on the planet.
It's so exciting. I love talking about all this, because if we can just help even one person out there that's in our viewing audience live a better quality of life, then we know that we have succeeded here on Prime Time. So it looks like it's almost time for us to wind down, and I want to thank everybody for joining us. Please spread the word. Now, if you're tuning in and watching the show live today, that's great. We love having you with us. We will also be archiving our shows on YouTube, on either my channel or my husband's, or both. So you can always check us out on YouTube. We are both on Facebook, and we also have our own individual websites. My husband's is dennis-kelly.com. Mine is barbaramarville.com. And check in from time to time. Write us if you like. If you have any specific questions, we'll try to cover them on the air here. We're going to also be having special guests come on Prime Time. And if you have special topics that you would like to see, feel free to let us know. We have a number in our healing circle of friends and colleagues that are very well versed in so many different alternative healing modalities and different areas of expertise that we want to bring in and share. My husband will be with me most of the time. But
Most of the time.
Then we just might do some wacky shows on Prime Time and let you have a break.
Well, we're going to have fun. That's the key thing. We want everybody out there watching to have fun.
Exactly.
We don't want you to get this too serious. We want you to do it lightly and enjoy the transformation that comes over by success by an inch, a cinch by a yard is hard. Keep that in mind.
That's right. And remember, Prime Time is your way to live the best quality of life forever. Let us give you that lifetime to health, longevity, anti-aging, different tips for alternative healthy living. Thanks for joining us. I am your host, Barbara, and this is my husband, Kelly, who is my co-host. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time, Mondays at 5 p.m. right here on Prime Time. Thanks for being with us.